Okay, so I have a really fun idea. I want to try this out and I want to see how it works. I want to role play as AWS. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to have me and then ChatGPT. I'm going to be one service or resource, and then it's going to be another resource or service. And the way that I want to do this is I want to have it tell me, okay, first off, if I am able to perform an action. So I will ask it, like, okay, I am, let's just say, a Lambda function. So I'm a Lambda function and I'm trying to talk to an S3 bucket. All right. So this is kind of the setup. Now let's play this game where here are the different options of available actions which I'm able to take. I want to try this action. I go and I do it to AWS, the what did I say, S3, I think we were talking to. Okay, so I do this, and then it gets blocked. Okay, well, what are the different scenarios in which this event could occur? And so to learn about AWS in more of a role play game and find out uh, these different problems that could arise, and in the context of kind of characters, because in my last video what I did was I realized it was actually very helpful to have a mental model that allowed me to have these different entities as actual characters. So in the last video specifically, what was going on is I was trying to work on my C sharp project, and I was so confused about what was going on. Of There were all of these different components and none of them were working or interacting properly together, and I was so confused about this. I had my C sharp code that I was writing, but then there was entity framework. Okay, so entity framework is one, then I'm talking to Postgres, and then all of these different things, right? Uh, and then I was putting things onto AWS, and then I was also trying to do migrations, and then I was trying to do unit tests, and then within my unit tests, I had mocks, and it was just causing me a giant headache because I didn't know what was going on, and I was just struggling for a very long time, maybe like 2 days. As you guys saw with my YouTube videos, I was making videos just struggling with these concepts over and over and over. But then in the last video, I tried to go to ChatGPT and we went through this, and it gave them in terms of characters because that's how I told it to do it, like to be able to identify who these different characters are. And it was very like eye-opening. I was like, whoa, okay, this makes a lot more sense because it was able to say like, okay, the architect, this is your C sharp. Now, entity framework, this is the diplomat. And how does the diplomat interact with the architect? Okay, they interact in this scenario. All right, awesome. Now, what is a migration? A migration is not a separate entity. It is just the architect's, or sorry, the diplomat entity framework's record log. And this is how the entity framework, the diplomat, goes about doing his recording of the events. This is when he does it. This is how he does it. This is what those events do. And then, okay, well, now you have a general. The general is the Postgres engine, right? He's the one guarding the Postgres data. Now the data is the warehouse. Okay. So the general, he is here and he only speaks this certain type of language. And then the diplomat is able to speak both the C sharp language and the general's language. So he's able to look at the blueprints, which is created by the architect, which is C sharp. He creates drawings or SQL or like work orders. That's what it was called. Work orders that are then given to the general, and the general needs to be able to understand this. This is in the SQL language, and then the general, he is going to go and look at his warehouse, and so it was able to explain it in this kind of context. And when I had it in a way that allowed me to think of these entities as actual like characters, and what are they allowed to do, what are they not allowed to do, how are they operating, it was very eye-opening about, oh, okay, I think I'm seeing how this is going on. So now what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of an experimental video. Okay, Well, let's roll with it. After I finished the video, I went for a walk, and I was thinking, okay, well, how can I use AI to make myself more efficient, more productive, more, how can I use it to learn more? How can I get more out of it, right? Like, obviously, I'm trying to better myself as an engineer. That's one thing. With my videos and my projects, that's I'm trying to learn those skills, but I'm also trying to make an actual point of learning how to use AI better, both agentically and through just like the chat ones like ChatGPT. And so I was going for a walk and I was considering like, okay, well, why was today effective? The last video. Why was it effective? How can I replicate that? How can I use this to increase my velocity in learning? And then I started realizing, wait, hold on a second. I can do almost just like a role play campaign that each of these different items are themselves characters. Okay, and then so I'm now looking at the board, the campaign, right? And from this, I am able to perform certain actions, and I'm the character, and there's other characters, and then I'm gonna have ChatGPT, or in this case Gemini, tell me, oh, this was a valid option. Here's why, and then oh, but this one was not. And then we're going to explore it in terms of that role play campaign. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, actually, I can expand this into other aspects as well. I can do this for networking, right? I am layer three and I want to talk to layer four. And then we can role play as actual characters and make it really interesting. So it's both kind of fun, but also very helpful for learning. So I'm gonna try to set this up and let's see how it goes. I'm pretty excited. So let me make myself a little bit smaller. And so yeah, here is my C sharp code that I've been doing. So this is migration specifically. Here's the project. The main point of this project obviously is not a front end. I just created this to be able to interact with the back end. The back end is what's pretty cool. That's what we're developing. We're doing a semantic search for ads based off of how similar they are to the content which the user is like watching. So, like a YouTube video, for example, it will have certain characteristics like the words that I'm saying, right? That's part of this video. That's what this video is about. And then me as the back end, I would be playing the role as YouTube, right? So YouTube gets the request, and now me in YouTube has to go and search a database, okay? And based off of that, I determine, okay, well, they're watching this video, and I know what this video is about. And I have ads, and I know what those ads are about. Both of those are vectorized entities. I'm able to do a semantic search on those, find the most similar ad to the video content, and give that as the ad. So that's kind of my project that I'm trying to do. But anyways, that's a fun project though, isn't it? Right? Like that's pretty fun. I've been loving this project. It's awesome. Okay, but anyways, we're getting we're getting a little bit distracted. Let's come here. Let's do a new chat and let's try to set the game. Let's set it, okay? New chat. Here we go. All right, so I want to play a role play game with you. We are going to be in the AWS world. All right, so I'm trying to think. I want to set up some good ground rules and figure out how we're going to set this game up. I am going to take on the role of an AWS resource. The purpose of this game is to make learning fun and to help me identify all of the actions which I can and cannot take. I also want to make sure that if I do an action which could cause a problem, that you explain why this action was not a valid action to take. So I am trying to identify all of the potential problems that I could run into when doing a real AWS project. Okay, so that's kind of the purpose. So we did the purpose, okay. I am going to take on the role of an AWS resource, and I want you to set up the entire world for me, and we can go on an adventure to perform different AWS actions. Okay? To perform different AWS actions, and then I want okay, so how do I want the responses structured? So I want to, when I select an action, I want you to give the technical details of how this action would occur. And then I want you as the other resource to, no, do I want it as the other resource or as the game itself? And then I want you as the, what are they called? The master, the game master. To maybe I don't add this one about when I select an action, I want you to give the technical details of how this action would occur. I'm a little bit iffy about that because I don't know how Gemini is actually going to take this. So I'm going to put that on pause. I definitely want to incorporate the characters of Lambda, RDS, S3. What are the other ones that I want? Bedrock maybe. Bedrock. And many other important AWS. Oh, IAM role. And many other important AWS resources. Maybe IAM role is actually something else. We need to incorporate, and then here is the IAM role. Okay. Whoops. IAM role. Security groups, users, policies, and other concepts such as VPC in the context which will make this a fun game. To start off this game, let's go into tutorial mode where you will explain the game and world to me so that I can understand all of the players, how they operate, what their personalities and thoughts and requirements are and get a good understanding of the game. Then, once we are on the campaign mode, I will take on the role of a resource and we can go on an adventure. I want this game to be fun and a fantasy setting. So try to fit all of these different concepts and resources and ideas into a role play fantasy setting. But the most important thing is to make sure that it is accurate and that it reflects the real AWS technicals. Once again, I am doing this for the purpose of learning about AWS, and I want to find all of my misunderstandings and encounter those illegal actions which will cause my project to fail or be running into issues. It is a good thing to run into an issue in this game so that we can understand through a role play how to fix them. Okay, so I was unsure about this one here. Then I want you as the game master. Okay, so I want to give. Okay, so the way that I'm thinking about this is it will give me some options. So, okay. When I select an option, I want you to give me the technical details of how this action would occur. Then I want you as the game master to show how the fantasy, how the game world would respond. Okay. If I don't know what options are available to me, I can ask for options and you can give me available selections which I can take. Okay, let's try this out. Now, this is as I said, this is an experimental kind of video. I don't know how this is gonna work, but we can tweak it in the future and say like, okay, well, awesome. This is what we came up with. This is how Gemini took it. This is what we liked about the game. This is what we didn't like about the game. And then our next time, our next iteration, our next campaign, we can make it better, right? So this is, as I said, a very experimental thing. Because I was thinking about it on the walk. I was like, wait, I could do this. Let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. So yeah, with that said, press go and let's start our game. So does it say start in tutorial mode? Okay. Let's go. Welcome to the kingdom of Claudia. Okay, a vast realm floating within the ether, the AWS global infrastructure. Okay, global infrastructure. Okay, in this world, everything is governed by the ancient laws of IAM. Okay, ancient laws of IAM. All right. Every inhabitant is a magical resource with a special destiny. Okay. As your game master, I will translate the rigid logic of cloud architecture into a sprawling fantasy adventure. Here is the tutorial mode. So we're in tutorial mode now. Briefing to help you understand the world you are about to enter. All right. The world, Cloudtopia. Cloudtopia is divided into various regions. They're islands, okay? Islands. All right. Each isolated by vast oceans. Within these islands are availability zones. Okay, so availability zones. I've heard about this. We have to select the availability zones, right? Like I'm here in Seattle, and so we need to select the Oregon availability zone. Okay. Magical districts that ensure if one district falls to a dragon or a power outage, okay, the other remains standing. Okay. The inhabitants, your party members. Okay. Each resource has a distinct personality dictated by its technical constraints. Okay. Each resource, so these are characters, right? I just read below Sir Lambda. I love that. Okay. Each resource has a distinct personality dictated by its technical constraints. Okay. Sir Lambda the Swift of Compute. All right. A wandering ninja who only exists when summoned. Okay, only exists when summoned. And it comes in and then goes away. He is incredibly fast and efficient, but has a short attention span, timeout limits, and can only carry so much gear, meaning temperature, temp storage and memory. Okay, the Chronicler. This is RDS, relational data something. So this is a scholarly librarian living in a fortified tower. He holds all the kingdom's structured secrets, but is very picky about who enters his tower. Security groups. So, yes, security groups. I just said that I was working on my C# project, right? This one right here. And one of the things that I ended up coming into a problem with was I was trying to connect my database. Right now, I have it living in a Docker container, which is like a Postgres. I can even just show it to you, right? It's a where's my Docker Compose? Here. It's a Postgres, like, customized for PG Vector. And I came into this and I decided, okay, well, I'm going to see if I can connect it to AWS. And so I created an RDS database and made it Postgres and all of that. And then I was unable to access it. And then I realized, like later on, I figured out, okay, it was a problem with the security group. And it took me a very long time to figure that out. So yeah, he is very picky about who he lets into his tower, both inbound and outbound. Okay, and requires a sturdy foundation, subnets. Okay, so yep, subnets. Um, the infinite vault of S3 storage. Okay, so a bottomless well where you can toss any item. Okay, so it's a well kind of that I can toss any item. It is nearly uh, indestructible, but you can but if you leave the lid open, public access, the whole world can see your treasures. Okay. The Oracle Bedrock. So I've also kind of touched on working with Bedrock and S3. So I was doing that with just experimenting with trying to create my own like MCP server to be able to like hook up with my models like Cursor and stuff. So I know a little bit about Bedrock and trying to get a knowledge base from S3, vectorize it, and all of that. But anyway, so yeah, Oracle Bedrock, not Oracle the company. This is Oracle like the truth sayers or whatever. Bedrock, and it's generative AI. A mystical cave of ancient wisdom. You bring it a prompt and it weaves magic from nothing, provided you have the right model access tokens. Okay, so let's get started. The rules of engagement. To keep the game fun but technically accurate, we follow three core mechanisms. The law of least privilege. Okay, so I've heard of this because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos of trying to understand AWS, and it has been confusing. Like I've been trying to understand and put all that stuff in my head. All right, so the law of least privilege. You cannot move, speak, or touch an object unless your IAM policy explicitly says so. If you try to open a chest without the S3 get object enchantment, the magic will fizzle. Okay, so the IAM policy, um, the IAM policy allows me to interact with objects. Okay, the VPC border. Okay, most of our adventure takes place inside the VPC cloud. There are invisible walls, security groups, and gates. Okay, internet gateways. Yep. Okay, so the the VPC is a invisible wall, but there are gates, which are the internet gateways. If you try to walk through a wall without a rule allowing you, you will be blocked. Okay, so VPC has rules. IAM has policies, yeah. The action and reaction. Your turn. You describe an action. I tried to send a message to RDS. The technical breakdown I will explain under the hood. AWS API call or networking handshake. Okay, good. I like that. The result. If it's valid, the story continues. If it's illegal, trying to put 6 terabyte file in a 5 terabyte limit or crossing a VPC without a peering connection, I will explain the failure state so you can learn how to fix it. Okay. Tutorial. Avoiding the error 403 curse. In this game, damage is taken in the form of latency, cost overruns, and access denied errors. You are a Lambda archer. Okay. Wait, but Lambda, they go in and out of existence, right? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, this is just an example. Okay, okay. I'm a Lambda archer trying to shoot an arrow into RDS tower. The mistake, you forgot to put yourself in the same VPC as the tower. The consequence, your arrow hits an invisible wall. The fix, we must perform the VPC attachment ritual. Okay. And update the tower's security group to allow arrows from your bow. Okay. Allow arrows from the bow. Awesome. Choosing my character. To begin the campaign mode, you must choose which resource you want to embody. This will determine your starting stats and your initial IAM permissions. Who would you like to be? We can be a Lambda function, a noble trigger-based hero who starts in a dark forest. I like dark forests. By the way, so I was born and raised in Oregon, and I mean rural Oregon, not Portland. Rural Oregon. Way out in the country, way out in the forest, okay? Well, okay. I should say my grandparents are way out in the forest, but me and my parents were in kind of in between Portland and the way out in the forest. So, but we never went into Portland. That was like a no-go zone, right? So it was always we were in either this like little town, or I would go and sometimes I would go when I was young and visit my grandparents and spend the night over with them. And I loved spending the night with my grandparents, and they were in the deep forest. It was beautiful. I just remember like you can see the moonlight shining from the trees, the owls doing their ooh ooh kind of thing, the crickets, they had a little creek, and so you could hear the water going. I love it. I love that ambiance. It's so nice. It was like ingrained. It's kind of interesting how things kind of get ingrained into your subconscious and make you really drawn to things. When you're a kid, you experience these phenomenons, and then it ingrains itself. Yeah. So let's see. Dark Forest, yes. An EC2 knight, a sturdy warrior with a long sword, EBS volume, okay, who lives in a public subnet. A public subnet, okay. An IAM administrator who crafts the laws but has no physical form of their own. By the way, do you guys think that those kind of like ambiances or whatever still get ingrained to you once you are like an adult? Like, I, I don't know. Because all of those memories seem to be formed when you're like maybe 5 years to 8 or 9, somewhere around there. But then once you're, I don't know. So, anyways, name the AWS resource you want to learn, and I'll build a character sheet for it. Which role shall you take for your first adventure? Okay, who do we want to take? We could take the Lambda just because it has the Dark Forest. Um, or we could do. I don't know what an EBS volume is. That's interesting. This one who crafts laws but has no physical form. Let's see. I'm kind of curious about. Should we just pick one? Like this. It's not about being too analytical. Right now, this is not an analytical time. This is a fun time. This is a creative time. We're gonna do the lambda. Okay, lambda function. That's what we're gonna do. There it is. All right, excellent choice. You are now Sir Lambda the Swift, a spectral ninja assassin of the Cloudtopia Highlands. All right. You do not exist in physical form until a trigger summons you into being. Okay, I come into being when a trigger summons me. You are currently resting in Cloud Repository Grove. Okay, waiting for the winds of an event to pull you into the material plane. Okay, so I'm just chilling, you see? I'm code, I'm chilling. All right. Your character, Sir Lambda, current state, cold start, inactive. Inactive. I am just there, okay? Spirit energy. Memory. So I have 128 megabytes. This can be increased to 10 gigabytes for more power, okay? The hourglass timeout. You have a 3 second. You have 3 seconds of life per summon. Whoa, okay, I did not know that. That's actually really fast. Okay. If your tasks take longer, you vanish into mist. Oh my goodness. Really? Really? Armor, security group. Okay, so here we go. Security group. You are currently naked in the ether. So I'm naked in the ether, okay? No security group. Okay. So security group is armor. That's an important thing to keep in mind, right? Okay, the scroll of laws. You possess a standard AWS Lambda basic execution role. Okay. Let me take a sip of coffee and I'm gonna reread this. The scroll of laws, IAM policy. Okay, IAM policy. This is important too. You possess a standard AWS basic execution role. Okay, so this is the normal AWS role that. Now, role is different than policy. Hold on a second. Okay. This allows you to write your adventures into the tome of CloudWatch, but nothing else. Okay, so I can write to CloudWatch, but that's it. Okay. And that's because I have this AWS basic execution role, and that role has a policy. I think that's how the AWS terminology goes. All right, so the adventure begins. The orphaned document. You are suddenly yanked into existence. Summoned! A villager has dropped a sacred scroll, a PDF, into the infinite vault of S3. Okay, so I thought S3 was a well, but now it's a vault. Okay, we have a vault of S3, and someone dropped a PDF into the well. Okay, the bucket named Kingdom Incoming Scrolls. Okay, so and this event of dropping the PDF into the well triggered me. The S3 notification trigger has summoned you. Your mission is to read the scroll and tell the chronicler, RDS, that the delivery has arrived. Okay. So I'm just trying to tell the chronicler the delivery arrived. Do I read? So read the scroll. So I get the contents of it. And then I need to report that to the chronicler, which is the relational database, the SQL database, right? Okay. Your mission is right. We already read that. The scene. You materialize into a misty clearing with a private subnet. Okay. Private subnet. We have private and public subnets. The difference with this is private means that there's no internet gateway, I believe. To your left, the massive golden gates of the infinite vault, S3. Okay? To your left. Okay, this left. Okay, to my left. To my right, far in the distance, you see the stone tower of RDS. Okay. So, it's kind of weird 'cause this is my right, this is my left, but on the camera it's flipped over. Anyways, where was I? To your right, far in the distance, you see the stone tower of RDS. Yep. The current situation. S3 gate. The vault is closed. S3, that's on my left, is closed. You need to reach in and grab the scroll. Okay? The RDS tower is surrounded by a moat of VPC. Okay? And Portcullis Security Group. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to get the scroll from S3. And I need to inform the RDS. Okay. Since this is a learning journey, you might encounter some fizzled spells errors based on your current setup. Here are your options. Reach into the infinite vault. Attempt to grab the PDF file using the S3 get option command. Well, we don't want to do that, right? That doesn't sound like we're going to be allowed to. Although let's check our settings, right? So incoming scroll. Where am I? I have no. I'm part of no security group. Or I have no security group. The scroll of laws. You possess a standard AWS Lambda basic execution role. All this allows me to do is write adventures into the tome of CloudWatch. So I can only write to CloudWatch. That's all I can do. Okay. That's my IAM policy. And my security group is none. Okay. So, shout to RDS. Try sending a message immediately to the chronicler saying, I'm here, I'm working on it. Check your reflection. Inspect your IAM policy to see if you actually have the power to touch the vault or talk to the tower. Well, that sounds like the one I want to do. Okay, ask for a technical scan. Ask me to explain the networking terrain between you. Yeah, let's ask for a technical. Let's ask for a technical terrain because I want to know maybe the vault, the well, is wide open. Okay. All right. So you pause in the misty clearing and perform a technical scan of the terrain. As a Lambda ninja, your surroundings aren't just scenery, they're logical constraints. The networking terrain map. Here is what your mystical senses reveal about the land between you and your goals. The subnet clearing. Okay. Your current location. You are standing in a private subnet. Private subnet. This means there is no direction path to the great internet. Okay. The good. You are safe from monsters like hackers outside the kingdom. Okay? They're tucked or they're protected. They can't get to me. The bad. The infinite S3 is located in the public realm and you don't have a VPC endpoint. Or a NAT gateway, a one-way exit. Okay, well, first off, it's kind of interesting. Why does it say NAT gateway is a one-way exit? And then VPC endpoint, a secret tunnel. Virtual private cloud endpoint. Okay. How does that operate as a secret tunnel? Okay. Interesting. The moat of the RDS tower. The chronicler lives in his own private subnet. Okay. Connectivity. You're in the same VPC, so the roads exist. So we're in the same VPC, but not the same subnet, right? The tower has a magical shield. Okay, the Porticus security group. The tower has a magical shield. It is currently set to deny all. Even if you walk up to the door, the Chronicle won't hear your knocks unless the shield is carved with a rule that allows your specific security group ID on port 5432 for Postgres. Okay. We're going to go with Postgres. So that's what I'm doing with my C# code. Okay. So it wants to allow my specific security group ID. So I need to get a security group ID. The S3 Vault Divine Protection. Unlike the tower, the Infinite Vault exists slightly outside our physical VPC. To talk to it, your request usually has to travel through the wilderness, the public internet. Really? Is that... I thought that S3 was in the... Because VPC is just the entire Amazon... Hold on, let me come... No, this is Cloudtopia, right? Then what is VPC? Where did we... VPC. Most of our adventure takes place inside a virtual cloud, virtual private cloud. There are invisible walls, security groups, and gates, internet gateways. If you try to walk through a wall, okay, I'll be blocked. So VPC is a border. Okay. So now, even if you walk up to the door, he won't hear you. Okay. The S3 Vault, Divine Protection. Unlike the tower, the Infinite Vault exists slightly outside our physical VPC. To talk to it, your request usually has to travel through the wilderness, the public internet. Okay. Since you're in a private subnet, your request will time out. The hourglass will run out unless we build a gateway endpoint, a magical wormhole that connects your clearing directly to the vault. Potential fizzle points, technical risks. Execution rule. Your current scroll only allows you to write logs. It does not have the S3 get object or the RDS DB connection enhancements. Okay, so this is what we want to look at, right? Like, okay, so this is good information. There is something which I, as Lambda, need. I need S3, so that's the resource that I'm looking at, and then the action, which is get object. Then I also need the RDS DB resource and the action connect to perform these actions, okay? Enhancements. The VPC reach. Because you're in a VPC, you lose your default ability to talk to public S3 API unless the networking is configured correctly. Okay, so let's see. Now that you see the invisible walls, how do you want to handle this? The brute force attempt. Try to grab the scroll from S3 anyways to see if the connection is already open. The lawyer. Approach. Check your IAM policy. See exactly what verbs, so which actions, you're allowed to perform. Okay? The architect approach. You summon a VPC endpoint for S3. Okay? So you don't have to leave the safety of your private clearing. So this is probably the one that we want to take. Although I might want to take this one just to see what happens, you see. The diplomat approach. You walk to the RDS tower and inspect the security group to see if it will even let you speak to it. Okay. What do? We do A. We try to brute force it. We try to grab that scroll, okay? You decide to test the winds. You reach out with your spectral hands, attempting to grasp the sacred scroll from the infinite S3 vault. You execute the command. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted it to do. To show me the technical thing of like the command that I'm executing and how it's working, and then what goes wrong and how to fix it. Yes, this is what I wanted. Okay, you execute the command S3 get object. So bucket equals kingdom incoming scrolls. and then key is equal to sacred scroll.pdf. Okay, so first thing that I am noticing, so we do S3, so which is the resource we're trying to get, and then get object is the like method, not method, but the action which we are trying to take, and then I have to specify some parameters, which is bucket. Which S3 bucket are we trying to get? Which well, essentially? It is kingdom incoming scrolls. That's the well that the scroll is in, right? And now the key is which item are we trying to grab from the S3 kingdom incoming scrolls resource. All right. The technical breakdown. The API call. Your code triggers a request to the S3 service endpoint. So the API call. Your code triggers a request to the S3 service endpoint. So there's something called service endpoint. S3 US East 1 Amazon AWS. Okay. DNS resolution. You successfully figure out where the vault is located, the connection. Your request leaves your Lambda instance and tries to find a path to the out of the private subnet. Okay. So I'm trying to access this, which is on the open internet. DNS resolution. So domain name server resolution. You successfully figure out where the vault is located, okay? So that's just finding out the IP address, essentially. Your request leaves your Lambda instance and tries to find a path out of the private network, or subnet, private subnet. Sudden failure, the frozen ninja. You reach out and time seems to stand still. Your hand remains suspended in the air. The mist around you thickens, and you feel the life force hourglass rapidly draining. Status, timeout. Bam! Task timed out after 3 seconds. Why did this action fail? There are actually 2 invisible walls you just hit simultaneously. Okay, what are these walls? Let me take a sip of water, and then we will find out which walls we hit. Let's get some coffee too. There we go. We're ready. We are ready. Okay. So the networking wall. Routing. Because you are inside a private subnet and have no NAT gateway or VPC endpoint, you are like a prisoner in a room. Okay, with no windows. All right, so let's reread that sentence because we're having fun, but we're also trying to learn, you know? Okay, so the networking wall. Routing. Because you are inside a private subnet. Private subnet. And have no NAT gateway. Okay, yep. And have no NAT gateway or VPC endpoint. So, NAT gateway VPC endpoint. We're going to have to try to set this up, but I want to figure out how to set this up. And hopefully it does give me those technical details. You are like a prisoner in a room with no windows. You tried to call out to the S3 bucket, which lives on the public web, but your voice couldn't leave the room. There was no route to the outside world, okay? The policy wall, permissions. Even if the message had received the vault's guard would have looked at your IAM role and seen you don't have the S3 get object enhancement or enchantment. So we have 2 problems. I don't have access to the internet and I don't have permission to touch the S3 object. They would have slammed the gate in your face with a 403 access denied. Okay? Access denied. The Game Master advice. You have just experienced the most common day one building. Okay. Anyways, by the way, the day one building is. Do you guys know the Amazon spheres? So day one is like right next to it. It's the top, it's a skyscraper that is right next to Amazon spheres. Anyways, um, day one failure or in Cloudtopia, the VPC connectivity trap. Okay, so maybe one day I'll be able to get into day one. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. If I work really hard, I study really hard, I do these games, I do my projects. Maybe one day I can join. I can join Amazon, and I can go into day one. But anyways, okay. So to fix this, you have a few choices. Option number one, the teleportation circle. Okay, we have three options. Ooh, okay. The teleportation circle, teleporting. We create an S3 VPC endpoint, VPC virtual private cloud endpoint gateway. This creates a magical backdoor directly from your private clearing into S3. It's free and very secure, okay? VPC endpoint. The Great Gate. We build a NAT gateway in a public subnet. I'm in a private one. So we build it in a public subnet. This allows you to talk to S3 and anything else on the internet, but it costs gold, AWS credits, to keep it running, okay? Option number 3, the administrative fix. We must also update my IAM policy to include, and now here it is. Okay, so effect allow. So we're allowing this action, the S3 get object, on the resource. Which resource? ARN, AWS, S3. So S3. And this is the access resolute. No. I've seen ARN. It's the like identifier. Okay. Kingdom incoming scrolls. Okay, so this is the actual like S3 bucket that we're trying to get. Okay. What would you like to do to fix your frozen ninja state? Number 1, I shall summon the VPC endpoint to bridge the gap. I want to modify my scroll logs first to make sure that I have permission. Okay. Let's move me out of the VPC entirely and see if that works, the public path. So I'm curious about this one. Okay, move me out of the VPC entirely and see if that works. Let's do that. Let's do this one. Let's do number 3. Okay, you decide to perform the ritual of detachment. Okay, with a surge of static energy, you sever your ties to the private subnet and step out of the VPC walls entirely. So I'm out of the VPC now. Haha, can't stop me. Gotcha. Okay, the transformation, going public. You move out. By moving out of the VPC, you have discarded your physical body inside the network. You are now a standard Lambda. Okay. The technical breakdown, network change. You no longer have a private IP address. You are now running in the AWS Managed Service Network, okay? AWS Managed Service Network. Internet access. Because you are no longer trapped in the VPC subnet, you regain the ability to speak to any public AWS API. Okay, so S3. Okay, S3 is a. Let's read that again. Let's take a sip of water and then read it again. Because I think that this was actually one of my questions. I said, wait, hold on. S3 doesn't live in the VPC? Oh, I didn't know about that. And I think that this is answering that question. Okay, so you no longer have a private IP address. You are now running in the AWS Managed Service Network. Okay. So AWS Managed Service Network. Interesting. I didn't know that that existed. Because you are no longer trapped in a VPC subnet, you regain the ability to speak to any public AWS API. And so S3 is a AWS API and it's public, using the great internet paths provided by the realm. Okay. The loss. However, you have lost your internal map. Because you are no longer in the VPC, you can no longer see the RDS tower or have any other private resources. You are outside the castle walls. Ooh, that doesn't sound good, does it? Another fizzle, the forbidden reach. You reach out to the infinite vault of S3. This time your voice carries. The request reaches the vault gates. The golden guard, the S3 service, looks at your request, checks his ledger, and shakes his head. You have no authority here, ninja. He bellows. Status 403. Access denied. Why did this fail? Even though the road is now open, networking is fixed, you lacked the magical enchantment permission. Your current IAM role only has AWS Lambda basic execution role. That's correct. This role is like a journalist's pass. It lets you write notes to CloudWatch logs, but it doesn't give you permission, but it doesn't give you the key to the S3 vaults. Darn. The situation at the RDS tower. Meanwhile, a messenger pigeon arrives from the Chronicle RDS. He sends a parchment that reads, I heard you were trying to reach me, but I am behind a moat and porticus. Since you left the VPC, you are now a stranger from the outside world. I will never accept a connection from the public ninja for security reasons. Okay, darn. Okay. Okay. You are in a bit of a catch-22. You fixed the S3 connection by leaving the VPC, but now you can't talk to the RDS tower. The lawyer. Okay, so now here's our options. What I'm thinking is, what if I'm still in the public internet. I'm outside the VPC, okay? Then I give myself permission, so I go into the IAM role. I give myself. By the way, see, this is now I'm able to even talk about it, and I kind of know what's happening, right? I go and I give myself permission. I go into the IAM role. I say access, allow, and then the resource that I want to be able, or the action that I want to take, which is like S3 get object, and then the resource that I want, which is the ARN number of that specific well that I'm trying to get. Okay, so I give my permission, I can grab it, and now I have the networking, I'm outside the VPC, so I'm able to get it. Then what I can do is I need to be able to talk to that RDS, which is within the VPC. Okay, he's not going to accept anything from me because I'm outside of the VPC. What if I use kind of like a gateway and just go in? Okay. But then I would still have to do the security group, right? I don't know how this is going to work. All right. The lawyer, modify your IAM policy to grant permission so you can at least grab the scroll. Yes. The bridge. Jump back into the VPC, but this time let's do it right. Stay in the private. It says let's do it right. So I wonder which one is the right option. Stay in the subnet, in the private subnet, and summon the S3 VPC endpoint so you can talk to both S3 and RDS. The risky one. Ooh, let's see about this one. Is it close to the one I was describing? Stay outside the VPC. Okay, so far so good. And try to open a hole to the RDS security group to allow the public world to talk to the database. No, this is considered a dark magic practice and is very dangerous. Okay. I want to modify my. Okay, so I can grab the scroll. Okay, I want to do this. Then I want to create a NAT, right? A NAT gateway to the RDS from outside the VPC. Okay, let's see about this. This is what I want to do. A bold strategy. You are attempting to weave two very different types of magic. One to unlock a chest and another to tunnel into the fortress from outside. Modifying the IAM. You sit cross-legged in the ether and rewrite your IAM policy. You add enhancement. Yes. Action. You update the Lambda execution role policy. So this is JSON effect allow action S3 on the resource. Yes. Awesome. Success. You have reached into the infinite vault of S3. Since you are currently outside the VPC, your request travels over the public internet, finds the vault, and shows the valid IAM credentials. And poof, the sacred scroll PDF materializes in your hands. Current status. You have the data in your temp storage. Okay. Your ninja satchel. Okay. Step number 2. The NAT gateway confusion. You attempt to use NAT gateway to reach the RDS tower from your position outside the VPC. The game master intervention. The illegal action. Sir Lambda, your spell fizzles and backfires. You've run into a major misunderstanding of how the kingdom gates work. Oh no. Okay, awesome. Let's figure it out. How does it work? Directionality. The NAT gateway is a one-way exit, not a two-way entrance. Okay, so see, at the beginning of this game, I noticed that it said a one-way exit, NAT gateway. I was like, one-way exit? What? I didn't know about that. I thought it was like a internet gateway, right? But apparently it's legit, right? Like, okay, I didn't heed the warning. I did not heed the warning, but now it's come up. So here we go. It allows resources inside the private VPC to shout out to the internet. It does not allow someone on the outside where you are to tunnel back in. Darn. Targeting. You cannot NAT gateway into an RDS resource or RDS instance. To talk to the chronicler RDS from outside the world, he would need a public IP address, making him public database, which is a massive security risk. Let's read that again. Okay. You cannot NAT gateway into an RDS instance to talk to the chronicler RDS from the outside world, he would need a public IP address. Okay, so I could give RDS a public IP address, but that is a horrible thing to do because it is a security risk. Okay. Okay. So now the moat. Even if you had a public IP for the RDS, the chronicler's security group is currently set to private. Although, hold on a second. When I was creating my RDS instance, it gave an option about like open to the or like make public or something like that. So that implies that it would have a public IP address, right? And I was able, like, I have my PG admin right here. I was able to communicate with it. I don't know if it's still up, but like I was able to communicate with my database. Hmm. Okay. Maybe it's meaning like I can do it, but it's not a good practice. Maybe that's what this is discussing. The moat security group. I did have to change the security group though. So, even if you had a public IP for RDS, okay, the chronicler's security group is currently set to private. All right. Even if you had a public IP for RDS, the chronicler's security group is currently set to private. He is looking for a private IP address from within his own security group. He doesn't recognize you. Okay, let's so I have this and then I'm going to ask a question. And I'm going to say a question is when I created an RDS myself, I ended up selecting the option to make public. Does this mean that my RDS instance has a public IP address? And is this a security risk? So I'm going to go like that. And then we'll select the one that I want to do. All right, so you are standing in the public square with the sacred scroll in your hand, but have no way to get the information to the RDS tower. You are holding the prize, but the library is locked tight. How do we fix this technical stalemate? Option A, the professional way. You must re-enter the VPC. We will place you back in the private subnet, keep your IAM permissions, and create an S3 VPC endpoint, the internal tunnel. This way you can talk to S3 and walk right up to the RDS gate. Option B, the proxy ritual. We could set up a basin host, a sentry, to pass the message, but this is complex and adds latency. Bastion host, okay. Option C, the security group update. If you go back to the VPC, we can edit the RDS group to say, I trust Sir Lambda security group ID. Let him in on port. Okay. Which one do we want to do? You must re-enter. VPC will place you back into there. Okay. What do we think about the Bastion host? To pass my... Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do this one. Come on. We're having fun right now. I choose option B. Okay. So, a wise question from a curious ninja. Before we proceed with the proxy ritual, let's consult the oracle reading. Okay, so oracle warning. The public RDS. By selecting public access yes, your Chronicle RDS has been given a public IP address. Okay, is this a security risk? In the kingdom of Cloudtopia, this is like putting your secret library in the middle of the town square. Even if the doors are locked, the security group, every thief, dragon, and dark wizard in the world can now see the library exists and try to pick the lock. Ah, I see. Okay. The technical truth. The okay, most production grade kingdoms companies forbid this. I see. Okay. And so the reason that I don't care about that is because here you go. If you want to see what's in my if you want to see what's in my database, here you go. There you are. Okay. So, but if we were in a production environment, we don't want to do that, obviously. Okay, now I got that. We're moving forward. Moving forward. Okay. Most production grade kingdoms companies forbid this. They keep the RDS in a private subnet with no public IP, ensuring only those inside the VPC have or can reach it. Awesome. The proxy ritual. Oh boy. I need to take us another sip of water. This is getting too exciting. Okay. The proxy ritual. Summoning the Bastion host. You have chosen option B. Since you are currently outside the walls and the RDS is tucked away, even if it has a public IP, we'll assume for this adventure its security group is still blocking everyone. Okay. That's okay. That makes sense. Because and I know this now, right? Like when I was doing it a couple days ago, I selected public. Tried to connect. Eh-eh. Wrong. Blocked. It's like, what? It's public. It's public. It's public. I needed to enable the security group. Okay. So you decide to use a middleman. Okay. Let's use the middleman. You summon Sir EC2. Okay, the Bastion Knight. Here we go. Here we go. Um okay. The setup. Sir EC2, the Bastion. He stands on the wall. The public subnet. Okay, so he stands on the public subnet. He has 1 foot in the public world and 1 foot in the private kingdom. Okay? The SSH tunnel. Okay, so we're SSHing now. You, Sir Lambda, will pass the sacred scroll data to Sir EC2, who will then walk it over to the RDS tower. Okay. Okay, technical breakdown. Why this is complicated. The handshake. Sir Lambda, me. Okay, yes. You must be able to SSH to send a payload to EC2. Okay? This requires the knight to have a open port 22 to the world. Okay, that makes sense, right? SSH is over port 22. The latency. Instead of going lambda RDS, the path is now lambda internet EC2. So I need the internet to reach EC2 because he has a public IP address. So I need to go and hit that go through the internet to reach EC2. EC2 then goes to RDS. Every hop adds a few milliseconds of wait to your journey. The key management. You need to give the lambda a private key. Okay, hold on. You need to give the Lambda Ninja a private key .pem file to talk to the knight. If you lose this key in the forest, anyone can become the knight. Okay, so that means like if someone gets my file, right? Like then anyone can become the knight. Okay. The fizzle alert. You attempted the ritual. Lambda, Sacred Scroll Data, Bastion Knight, RDS. The result: a knight catches your scroll. Okay? But when, or the knight catches your scroll, but when he turns to the RDS tower, he is blocked. The chronicler RDS looks down from his window and says, I don't know this knight. He is just a stranger to me. Why did this fail? Even with the proxy, the RDS security group must be updated. It's currently doesn't have a rule that says allow traffic on port 5432 from Sir EC2 security group. Okay. Your next move. So, perform security group alignment. Update the RDS security group to allow the Bastion Knight to enter. Okay. Bedrock consultation. You are feeling overwhelmed by all this networking. You decide to summon the Oracle Bedrock to see if you can write a script to automate this whole proxy mess. Nah, we're not gonna do that. Reevaluate. Wait, if my RDS is already public from your question, can't I just throw the spell directly at its public IP address? GM note, you can, but this still needs to fix the RDS security group. Okay. What should we do? Let's do this one, right? We want to update the RDS security group to allow the Bastion Knight to enter. Okay, we're going to do this one. You decide to act as architect and perform a security group alignment. You pull out your celestial wrench and begin adjusting the magical shields around the RDS tower. Okay? To make this work, you are modifying the inbound rules. Yep, inbound rules to the RDS or of the RDS security group. So RDS has a security group, and I adjust that on the database. Okay. The source. Instead of opening the gates to the whole world, 0000-0, right? Which would be a dark magic security risk, you specifically whitelist the security group ID of the Bastion Knight. Yeah, that makes sense. The port is open on this one, assuming Postgres. Yep. The protocol, TCP, is the language of reliable handshakes. Awesome. We got it. Success! 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 We got it. With the shields aligned, the flow of magic is restored. Sir Lambda, you send the data from the scrolls across the internet. The Bastion Knight receives, the EC2 instance receives the data through his open port. The Knight turns and presents the data to the RDS. Then, okay, so what I'm thinking is it went through a lot of these steps, but it didn't tell me how it's taking it. Like, what are the actual commands which are being said? Okay. The other thing that I want to ask is, oh no, I lost my PIM. So now I lost it. What's going to happen? Okay. So, Sir, the Bastion Knight receives your data through his open port, right? We open that port, 22, and the Knight turns and presents the data to the RDS tower. The tower checks the security group shield, sees the Knight badge, and opens the porticus. Okay. The Chronicle RDS scribbles the information into his ledger. Sacred Scroll received and indexed. Okay. So, mission accomplished, mostly. So we get a 200 status. We win. Almost. Okay. The Prost battle debrief. The learning moment. You have completed the mission, but as a wise ninja, you have noticed your gold AWS credit are draining faster than expected. Why is this? Suboptimal for this project. So I'm gonna say, does it say that it's gonna try to reset things? Oh, now we're going to the bedrock. Oh, okay. Um, I wanted to lose my PIM keys. I wanted to lose my PIM keys. Oh no, I've lost my. Okay, and then I should my. What was it? Dot. What was it? Oh, dot PEM, right? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Mm. Oi. Oi. Am I not looking in the right spot? Okay. A question. It was somewhere in here, right? Every thief comes here. Okay. Keys in the forest. Okay. Okay, but let's keep reading. Here. Okay. So, can you give the commands which occurred during the before we go to our next oracle, go to our next threat. Oh no, I've lost my PIM keys in the forest. Okay. Actual commands occurred during the what was it? During the delivery. Like this. Okay. And then let's read the debrief though. So our gold is draining fast. So why it's suboptimal? Double data transfer. You are paying for data to go out of the lambda, okay, into the bastion, which is EC2, and out of the bastion to the RDS. Okay. Maintenance burden. If the bastion EC2 gets sick, the instance crashes or needs an OS patch, your entire delivery pipeline breaks. The secret exposure. If you give your Lambda a private key to talk to the night, if you hardcode that key into your code grove, anyone who sees it can now own your bastion night. And then it's going to say a new threat. Let's read the threat, but then let's kind of go and then do a little bit of a detour about losing our PIM keys. Okay, so a new threat emerges in Oracle's request. The delivery is done, but the Oracle Bedrock has sent a smoke signal from the high peaks. Sir Lambda, the information you gave the Oracle is just raw text. I need, well, are we gonna vectorize it? Are we gonna vectorize it? Um, I need you to use my, I need you to use my generative powers to summon that scroll into a poem for the king. But wait, I'm a highly restricted resource. You don't have the model access tokens to speak to me yet. Your next challenge, you need to talk to Bedrock, but Bedrock requires the specific identity based policy. You must enable the model in the region settings. Oh, I mean, that sounds really cool. Um, let's do this one. Okay. Let's do this, and then we'll go and do the other one. Oh no, losing your PIM keys in Cloudtopia Forest is a classic level 1 catastrophe. In the physical world, it's like dropping your only house keys into a bottomless gorge. Before we address your lost keys, let's look at the magical incantation code that made your previous delivery successful. Okay. Here is the technical reality of what Sir Lambda and the Bastion Knight just performed behind the scenes. Sir Lambda, uh, Sir Lambda's sending spell, Python 3 Bodo. Inside your Lambda function, you had executed code to send the scroll data to the Bastion. Okay. Since you're using a proxy, it likely looked like this. So we import MySQL. Okay, fine. Lambda function, event, context, connection. We connect to SQL, MySQL. Host name is the public IP address. Okay, and now the Bastion EC2 because he is on, has some a foot in the public and he has a foot in the private. He does have a public IP address, so we write it here. The user is going to be me, right? Admin, and then password and database. Okay. And then port. Okay, so this is actually to the RDS right here. This has to be the RDS, right? Yeah, because it's listening on that port. Okay, with connection cursor as cursor. Okay, this isn't this cursor. Okay, different cursor. SQL equals, and now we're doing an SQL command. Insert into incoming scrolls table the content here. Okay. Values as okay, execute or cursor dot execute the sacred scrolls content. Okay, connection. Okay, the knight's perspective. Security group CLI. When you perform the security group alignment, you, as the architect, likely ran a command like this in the AWS CLI to open the gate. Okay, so now we have the CLI, which I have kind of done just opening up my terminal, right? And I believe EC2 is essentially a computer. It's like I actually have not worked with EC2, but I believe it is. I believe it is like a. Oh, why did my mind just go blank? I what is that thing that like VirtualBox? What is that called? Virtual machine. There we go. I don't know why my brain just went blank. I was like, what is that? Because I was thinking like a container, and I'm like, no, it's not a container. We're looking for the other one. It is a, there we go, virtual machine. So I think it's a virtual machine that you're able to like do computation, essentially. Um, all right, so AWS. So this virtual machine. Oh, that actually might make sense why it would do the CLI, because just like how with me on my terminal, I do those CLI commands. Okay. So it's just like a computer, just like my MacBook, and it's going to do those commands. Authorize security groups ingress. Okay. Group ID is RDS Tower ID. Okay. The protocol is TCP. Port is this one, and source group is Bastion Night ID. Okay. The crisis. The lost PIM key. Because you lost your PIM key, you can no longer SSH into the Bastion Knight to manage him or fix the tunnel. In AWS, you cannot recover a lost private key once it's created. Darn! I'm out of luck. Okay, the technical consequence. The knight is a statue. He will keep standing there, costing you gold, but you can never talk to him again. The security risk. Okay, so the PIM key is specifically for the EC2. Darn. Okay, security risk. If a forest troll, a hacker, finds the key, they can enter the kingdom's mind, the EC2 instance, and potentially attack your RDS tower. How to recover the Cloudtopia way. All right, since you are in a roleplay game, we have fixed this before we have to fix this before we can move on to the Oracle Bedrock. How do you want to handle this security breach? Option number 1, Brutalist. Terminate the knight. Destroy the EC2 instance entirely. This stops the gold leak and the security risk. We then summon a new knight with a new key pair. That's probably what I would do. If I was doing it, that's what I would do. Okay. All right. So, the modern wizard. Use AWS System Management SSM. Okay, Session Manager. This is a magical backdoor that doesn't require keys. If the knight has the SSH or SSM agent installed and the IAM role, you can enter his mind without a PIM key at all. Okay, option number 3. The EC2 Instance Connect. If the knight is young and running modern software, we can use Instance Connect, a ritual to push a temporary one-time key into his pocket via AWS console. What do we think? This one seems like we would learn the least, but it would allow us to go to the other quest, which was the one with doing like the Oracle request, right? And I'm kind of interested about that one. I'm interested about it, you know. This one seems like, all right. So, a magical backdoor that doesn't require any keys. If the knight has the SSH agent installed and an IAM role. Okay, so SSM agent installed and an IAM role. Okay. You can enter his mind without a PIM key at all. If the knight is young, session manager, system manager, session manager. Let's do option 2. Let's do it. Let's do that. All right. You've chosen the path of the modern wizard. Instead of searching in the mud for a lost physical key, you decide to bypass the need for keys entirely using the magic of SSM, System Manager, okay? The ritual of keyless entry. To regain control of the Bastion Knight without his PIM key, you must perform a 3-part ritual. The soul patch, the IAM role. All right. Do I have more water? Yes, I do. Okay. All right, the soul patch. You must attach an IAM instance profile to the night. This profile contains Amazon SSMM, oh, Amazon SSM managed instance core attach enhancement, okay? This gives the night the authority to listen to the SSM service. Okay. Yeah. What did we do here? So IAM role. So we are going into IAM and we are, this gives the night the authority to listen to the SSM service. Okay, so now it's listening to this because we changed its IAM role. Okay, the hidden agent. The night EC2 must have the SSM agent, a tiny familiar living inside his mind. Luckily, Amazon's Linux night comes with this pre-installed, okay? And we're using Ubuntu, so it works. The portal session manager. Once the night has the right role, you no longer need port 22 open to the world. You can close this dangerous gate, okay? The technical breakdown. Why this is high tier security. Okay. By switching to session manager, you have just leveled up your security significantly. Okay, so by switching to session manager, I almost want to write this down, like session manager. This session manager. But by switching to session manager, you have leveled up your security significantly. 0 open ports. Okay, so now the EC2 instance doesn't have any ports available to it. Haha, so you can't get in even if you have the key, huh? Okay. You can edit the Bastion Knight security group. So now I go to the security group of the EC2 instance and I say no inbound rules. None. Don't accept anything. The connection is outbound only, so you can only send stuff out. From the agent to the SSM service. Okay, audit trails. Every command you whisper into the night's ear is now recorded in the tome of CloudWatch logs. Awesome. Here we go. If you accidentally delete a file, there is a record of your mistake. Okay, CloudWatch is keeping track of all of our actions, huh? No more keys. You can never lose your keys again because your identity is managed by your IAM. My identity is managed by the IAM user and role, not a file in my laptop. Okay, success! The night is recovered. You use your AWS console. Okay, let's take another sip of water. You use your AWS console or CLI to start a session. Okay? You are now inside the night's mind. You can see the sacred scroll data sitting in the buffer. In the buffer, ready to be sent to the Chronicle. The terminal command used is AWS SSM. Okay, so I can do, so now I have the ability to do AWS, so the command line interface command. So I'm talking to AWS. I want to do an AWS command. Which command do we want to do? We want to do SSM, and we want to start session, and target is here. Okay. The next peak, the Oracle Bedrock. Okay, now we get to the Oracle. Now that the lost key crisis is averted and the night is secure, the smoke signal from the Oracle Bedrock grows darker. Sir Lambda, the chronicler RDS, has saved a scroll, but it is too long for the kingdom to read. You must use my large language model to summarize it. But wait, haven't been granted model access in this region. Okay, the technical barrier. Unlike S3 or RDS, you can't just use Bedrock the moment you create an account. You must go to the Bedrock temple console and manually request access to specific models like Claude, Titan, or Llama. This is like signing a contract before they lend you their brain power, okay? What is your next move to fulfill the king's request? The contract. So navigate to Bedrock model access page and request access to the models you need. The grant. Oh, grant. Oh, okay. Here we go. Probably going to choose that one. The grant of power. Update your Lambda IAM policy to allow Bedrock invoke model. Even if you have access to the temple, you still need personal permission to speak to the oracle. Okay. The architect refactor. Now that I am an SSM wizard, I want to finally move back into the VPC properly to use Bedrock VPC interface endpoint so that my data never touches the public internet. So actually that's kind of the one that I want to do. So yeah, I want, now that the SSM wizard, because I want to figure out how to open up a VPC interface endpoint. I want to figure that out. But I think I am going to go and get something to eat first. And then, yeah. So reflecting on this, and then we're going to keep going on this. This is fun. I'm going to keep going. And we're going to be making more videos of like role playing with Amazon, AWS. Networking is another one that I want to do. I want to get in and learn a little bit more about networking. And I'm going to find more and more avenues that I can use this as a way to enhance my learning and be able to really move faster, understand it on a deeper level, and get that see the situation in a completely different light. So I'm enjoying it. I really had a lot of fun. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but then, yeah. So if you want to join me on this adventure, subscribe. I would love to have you around, and we can keep on going, keep on learning, and yeah, this is going to be awesome. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.